Well, good afternoon, everybody. We'll go ahead and get started. We got a big game this Saturday. It's homecoming and a lot of other events. And we're playing an excellent Air Force team. I know they've been receiving some votes on the coaches poll, which I always pay attention to. In reflection of the CSU game, a lot of really good things. Obviously, to score on defense another time was encouraging. We won the turnover margin. We did not turn the ball over. You know, I thought a big impact in the game was the punting game, and we made them go the long way. And on the flip side, we played on the short field sometime with some return yardage, so that was good. I thought we tackled well, pursued well. I thought we ran the ball well from the tailback position, something that was going to be important. Things that were not so great in the ball game, some big plays, on our secondary. And what was helpful was, we had enough yardage there that we were able to bend but not break sometimes. I think we need to throw the ball and complete the ball better than what we did. We dropped off a little bit there, and we were 1 for 2 on fourth down and short, so we've got to improve on that. With the Air Force, they're playing excellent defense right now. I think they've given up 58 yards in rushing defense, put them in one of the top rushing defenses in the country. They're running the ball well, you might expect, but also they've got a pretty potent passing game. Robinette's a big-time receiver, and Romine is throwing the ball well. They are 4-0. I think they're playing really well right now, and I know the Navy game is a big ball game for them. They handily defeated Navy. And so a lot to play for, big challenge, and I think we're playing well right now also. So at this time, any questions?
Craig, you mentioned their defense. What has made them so good? I know they've always been pretty decent within the league, but is it a different scheme? Is it speed, athleticism? Are they big? What stood out to you on them defense, especially against the run?
Yeah, and I'm going to, my background's on defense. I spent a great deal of time looking at what they're doing on defense. First of all, the physically, when you look at the guys, they've got Division I athletes. It's not like they're guys that are just try-hard guys. They've got good athleticism down there. Their front is quick. The linebackers run well. They're very capable in the secondary. They pressure a lot. They have a disciplined scheme, and they tackle well, and they're very aggressive, and they're playing at a high energy right now, and it feeds on itself. When you're aggressive and you're making plays, it's like there's blood in the water. And they're well coached, but they're very aggressive, and they've got the athleticism to back it up.
Craig, the game can be so complicated sometimes, yet again, it can be so easy. You talk about the fundamentals. Each of the games that you guys have been more than competitive in this year and have won, you've stopped the run. You did so again this past Saturday night. You mentioned the big plays. If you take out those 3 plays, the 3 long gains they had running the ball, all the other runs they had, you guys they only averaged 1.4 yards per carry against you guys. So you got to be very encouraged about that.
Well, we are, and I appreciate you bringing that up. For us, going into the game, we needed to make marked improvement at the line of scrimmage. I thought Colorado State the previous year was able to move our defensive, actually it's a 3 technique tackle with a zone reach on the backside, and we had a hard time with that, and so we worked extremely hard during this week. I thought the coaches did a nice job stunning some things to create some havoc in there. And obviously Andrew Winger played a phenomenal football game. There were some things that we did to spin him down. And I know he made some tackles that were right at the line of scrimmage, and that wouldn't be what you normally would expect out of a safety. And that was some schematics there. So we're pleased with that. But, there were a couple other things that you're right. We made great progress there. Typically for us, if we can run the ball and stop the run, we're going to be in pretty good shape.
And you got another challenge this week because Air Force has always got an experienced line. I think they've got 3 juniors and 2 seniors up front.
They really come off the ball well. While their offense is a complicated offense, particularly in the run game, there's not much that Coach Calhoun and the rest of the offensive staff has seen defensively that they haven't had an answer for. So, it's going to be a big challenge, but a great opportunity for us.
You mentioned Andrew having a big game, had a great year as a freshman. What has he done to maybe make himself even better as a sophomore?
Well, first of all, last year he was probably about 180 pounds. He goes between 200 and 205 right now, so that's 20 pounds of lean muscle mass. It's really made a difference. He's more durable. He's still running well. It's another year in our system. He's got a real good understanding of what we're doing. He's tackling better. And, he played an excellent football game. I can't recall a game where a safety's been that involved purposely, and he didn't miss a tackle all game long. And so had a great ball game.
Coach Tyler Hall on the depth for the first time and got some action against CSU. What has impressed you about him so far?
Well, he was a guy that, we looked at during fall camp, showed up, made some plays. And then what became apparent to us is when Robert was out with that concussion protocol, he got more repetitions in practice, and he executed well. We felt like he's got good athleticism, certainly can use on special teams. And then when he played in the game, I thought Colorado State went after him one time in particular and about had a pick. I mean, it was real close to a pick. So he's got good body position, went up for the ball well, and so it's encouraging for us to have another defensive back that we feel like we can play.
Was he someone, you said you looked at him in fall camp, but had you planned on probably playing him at some point anyway, or was really the injury with Robert kind of forced your hand a little bit more with that?
Well, it certainly allowed us to take more of a look at Tyler. And sometimes during the course of a season, guys will begin to play a little bit faster. And when a freshman shows up and, we've got some depth at the corner position, his opportunities to really go out and show us what we can do were somewhat limited. And, what also became apparent, we are thin at corner. And to have another guy there that went out and played, and I think Colorado State's got some good receivers, so Tyler played well, and you'll see him play more.
That's got to be encouraging to you, Craig. Some of the depth you're currently starting to build. A guy like Tyler, you're playing him more. Johanna Defan really played well, I thought, again, and was instrumental in that pick by Chase.
Well, he certainly was, and that was another, beyond the pressure on the quarterback, some of the schemes that we talked about, where last year we just got pushed back 5 yards between Connor Kane and then Johanna. Those two guys really had a strong presence and helped us shut the running game down. And so we're encouraged, got more guys that are playing meaningful reps. Pursuit to the football certainly improving. What you find is when you have more depth and you're fresher, you're more athletic, turnovers go up, your takeaways go up. I think we've got as many takeaways right now as we did all last year. And so that's a reflection of more depth and more athleticism on the field.
We talked a lot about offense last week at this time. Was it as simple, the way you guys looked on Saturday, was it as simple as being able to run the balls effectively as you guys did?
Not quite as simple, but there was a significant effort made by our coaching staff to be physical at the line of scrimmage and to run the football. And we did a lot of things in practice that we emphasized that. And, we thought Colorado State had a very capable defensive front seven. And for us to come up with the rushing yardage, and that didn't come about right away. That began to come about during the course of the game. And so we're really encouraged about that. And that's a credit to, I think, Coach Fuchs. And, I thought Viggs dialed up some good run schemes and then mixed in some plays.
Greg, you talk about the course of the game, staying the course of the game. In totality, Saturday, is that kind of a blueprint of what you would like to see your football team do, gradually kind of just take over as the game goes on and then dominate a second?
Well, we'd like to start faster, kind of like what we did against Davis. But what was encouraging was we got down and we didn't get out of our blueprint. I thought our players, there was great poise and composure on the sidelines, and we made some adjustments. But what we really strive to do is we want to be explosive in the passing game, but in the end of the day, to be able to pull out a trump card and between Brian and Sean and the line of scrimmage began to move. I mean, I think there was one series where we were able to run maybe 4 power plays in a row, and we were getting 9 yards a crack at them. And that, when we say cowboy tough, There's a lot of elements that go into it, but that's certainly helpful to do that.
Craig, you mentioned their defense, and well, they've been against the run. I know you always want to be able to run the ball, but do you think this could be a game where there might be a little bit more on Josh in the passing game, just based on what they've been able to do against the run so far?
Well, it's always a concern when you go 58 yards per game. That's a low number, and we're not going to abandon the running game. We need to have some schemes and make a concerted effort. But there's no doubt. I mean, when you deploy that many guys to the line of scrimmage, we've got to come up with some plays in the passing game.
Coach, in regards to Brian Hill breaking the rushing record, what kind of evolution have you seen from him over the past 3 seasons?
I think the biggest thing with Brian is he's become more physical. He's always had some pretty good speed, and you saw that in the game. I think he circled their safety and had a long run along our sideline. But there was another time when one of the safeties spun down him. He ejected him, and he's 220 pounds now, and that sends a message. And that's probably the biggest improvement we've seen with Brian.
Is he feeling all right with his hip flexor?
Mm-hmm.
Since the game started?
He was sore. He could have played at the tail end of the game. The game we thought was in hand. Some of our other guys were out there, but at that time, we got Nico some reps in the game, but he was available. Hopefully he'll practice tonight. If he doesn't, I think he'll be ready to go tomorrow. At least that's what we've been told. Matter of fact, all the injury report indicates that we're going to have all our guys healthy and fresh.
It's always, you have scout teams try to emulate, and that's it's always a challenge every week, but especially with this offense with the triple options. Can you share, who will you have try to emulate some things to maybe add a speed element or some things like that to give you as good a look as possible?
Well, the quarterback position is always, a critical position when you're defending triple option football, and so you're not looking at a traditional drop back pass guy. And so, I think we're in the process. Guys are in the other room sorting out the depth chart right now.
Coach, can you talk about how important the safeties are in defending the Air Force triple option? And just, Andrew and Marcus seem to be playing well, but just how involved they'll be this week.
Well, we're not going to give away our game plan, so to say, but I think most everybody recognizes safeties need to be involved, and when you're playing triple option, you got to have guys that can have the ability to tackle, and so we're excited about those two guys.
Craig, about a week ago, well, it was a week ago at this time, I asked you about Brent Vegan.
Yeah.
You sat up there and you defended your offensive coordinator, and I think that he's kind of kept the wolves at bay, so to speak, for at least another week with those who criticized him coming off the EMU game. But I think he certainly, with the combination of the pass and the run, dialing up some good plays, I think he justified the faith that you put in him and stood by those words that you spoke about last week.
Well, I appreciate that critiquing. I know I can tell you Brent has been critiqued for many, many years, and I've always appreciated his wisdom and composition of game plans. I'm involved to a certain degree, but not at a micromanaged level, and so it was good to see us come out. We need to score some points, and we certainly did.
There's three sacks in the second half, a couple more QB pressures. Just how far along is that pass rush compared to where it was last year?
I think it's I wouldn't say night and day different, but a significant improvement. And once again, that comes in, you got more guys playing. There's more speed, more athleticism, and then when you get people, when they're chasing points, when they begin to chase points, that changes some of the things that you're doing up front to get those guys going. And if you're in a run-pass conflict all the time, it's hard to rush a passer. And so we're encouraged about the pressure we've been getting on the quarterback and the sacks, and I think we've just got more guys that are able to go out there and pass rush.
Craig, I know wasn't there a rule change this year about not blocking below the waist and things like that? I know Air Force is big into the cut and chopping.
Well, Troy was the president of the Rules Committee for a while there, and Troy had a good position.
Yeah, so have you noticed a big difference in how they, run their offense? Because I know that was a big part of their schemes. Has anything really changed from what you've seen on film?
You know what? Some of the downfield cutting, there's certain angles. They're staying up high a little bit more, but nonetheless, you still see on their perimeter, they're really good cut blockers, and we'll have to work hard at that this week. But some of the things where you're outside going back in, that changed. And that made a difference on the scheme.
Greg, have you found in your coaching experience, especially with an emerging, still maturing, work in progress sort of a football team like you have right now, that you can get to the point where you kind of break through a threshold, so to speak, with a win, I'm referencing the win on Saturday, where the team starts to take on a belief system or a confidence that starts to spread throughout the team that the plan is working, the work that they're putting in is starting to see some results and so on and so forth. Is there anything to that?
No, there's a lot to that. And as a coaching staff, we do everything we can to lay a foundation of that belief. But human nature tells you when something's not working, something's not working. After a while, you go, okay, coaches are telling us, and it's not working. We look up at the scoreboard. I think that much can do with some of the seniors that we had last year. And I know it's retracing history, but a guy like Eddie Yarborough was so encouraging to a lot of these younger guys like Carl Granderson and Kevin Prosser and some of the other guys to say, hey, believe in the coaches. And step by step, I think our guys are more bought in. And certainly Saturday night's win over our rival. There's a lot out there for us, but nothing builds success like success. And to have a convincing win like that is certainly an exclamation point that, hey, we're on the right track. We just got to keep going. Now, we're an emerging football team. We're a long ways away from our vision to what kind of football team that we can be. But I think Saturday's performance was an indication the arrow's pointing up.
Coach, CSU's starting field position most of the game was pretty poor. Is that one of the best games you've seen out of Ethan in a while?
It is, and that, I mentioned that in my talking points at the beginning. When you make an offense play on the long field like that and the number of punts that he had, he punted the ball extremely well. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, their punter was an All-American candidate. And, we won the kicking game. And there's more to it that just goes into just the punter and the place kicker. The coverage teams come into play, but where he placed the ball, he was on point and he was in a zone. And that had an impact because we did give up some big plays. But there was still enough yardage there that, we were able to hold them to a field goal attempt or something like that. So I think that was Ethan's best performance that he's had since I've been our head coach.
You mentioned coming off a win over your big rival, and I know maybe the Air Force isn't as big a rival as CSU, but it's still a rivalry game, and a young and maturing football team. Is that a concern? Because that has to be a big uplift to win that game. But you got another conference game, and it is kind of a rivalry game. Is that a concern?
No, it is. Prosperity sometimes brings complacency, and we're going to address that today. I'd like to think that our guys recognize that Air Force is an excellent football team, and we've got a kind of a storied history with Air Force. We've had competitive games. 2 years ago, we won in a close ball game here, and then last year, we were in it somewhat at halftime, and then the game got out of hand. But I don't anticipate any complacency, but we're going to address that. So much as, and rightfully so, made about the border war and bringing back the boot. Well, we got the boot. Now there's a lot more out there for us. I know, on the flip side, I'm sure the Navy's a pretty big game for Air Force as well. And so you got what you have. You have, I think, two really good teams on the mountainside that are getting ready to tee it up on our homecoming. So a lot of storylines there.
Craig, I'm curious, as a former player and a coach early on, you grew up in the area of the Wishbone.
Yeah.
When you see that...
I know it was interesting. Some of the defensive coaches go, one of our younger defensive coaches go, Coach, was this how it was? And I said, yeah. That's just what you did. It was, sometimes I think we've ruined the game of football. I don't know, but, back in the 70s, and everybody ran the Wishbone. I don't want to say everybody, but, as a player, we played against Oklahoma, and I remember all those years when I was a younger coach going against Arkansas and then coaching against Air Force. And, it's a great chess match. And they have a huge advantage because no one wants to be disciplined enough to execute that offense. And so I think Coach Calhoun and that culture there, it's going to be a big challenge for us. And we're excited for it, and I get excited for these games.
Greg, Sean Wick spelled Brian a couple of times in the game on Saturday. I thought he ran he had his best game. He was kind of running tentatively, I thought, in the first couple games of the year, but Saturday it looked like the old Sean Wick that reminded us of the player that he was consistently for you previously.
We're pleased with how he's playing, and I thought he really played well. He ran the ball hard. I did bruise his tailbone, but he's supposed to be fine, you know. It certainly helps having a 1-2 punch with those two guys, and so we're pleased with his efforts.